All right, let's take a deep dive into our valley weather on this Tuesday evening, the first day of May. Welcome to the final month of meteorological spring here in 2018. It's Weather for Weather Geeks time. We've got a lot to talk about this evening, including some perfect weather, some unsettled weather, and some interesting ideas as we go into the longer range. So let's get right to it. First, a review of today's numbers. We hit 80 for the second time this year at the Youngstown Warren Airport. We hit 80 once in the month of April. It hit 82 in Cleveland, 79 in Pittsburgh this afternoon. Now, the air mass remains very, very dry. The relative humidity in the 7 o'clock hour, only 22% at the Youngstown Warren Airport, and this has led to a concern for a fire weather danger today. The Weather Service hoisted a fire weather warning, sometimes referred to as a red flag warning, for much of the state of Ohio. Now, even though this only includes Columbiana County in our viewing area, conditions are about the same everywhere. The combination of dry soil and fuels, meaning any leaves or foliage or twigs or sticks sitting around have tended to dry out. With the very low relative humidity, a little bit of a breeze and the warm temperatures, that's a recipe for an increased risk of fires spreading rapidly if they form. So it's not a great evening to burn anything in your backyard. It's not a great idea to use charcoal grills. Anything that could potentially lead to a small fire, it could turn into a bigger fire because it can spread more easily in conditions like this. It's been since 2012 since the Cleveland Weather Service has hoisted a fire weather warning. It's not a type of product that we see very often around here. I'm going to show you why I am not concerned about the fire danger going forward here in just a second. In the meantime, this evening, severe weather ramping up across the middle of the country. Of course, April was exceptionally quiet in terms of severe weather out here in the middle of the country, where severe weather is usually ramping up as we get into the spring season. This evening, we have a tornado watch out for parts of Kansas and Nebraska, extreme western Iowa, and then farther to the north and east, it's a severe thunderstorm watch. When I recorded Weather Geeks this evening, several tornado warnings ongoing across the state of Kansas into parts of Nebraska as well. Now, as we go into Wednesday, a very good chance of severe weather once again, kind of in the same areas and maybe a little farther east. So right around Kansas City, the Weather Service actually has a moderate risk. One category below the highest, which is high. So, this is certainly a pretty serious situation coming up for tomorrow into parts of tomorrow night. Even outside of the moderate risk and the enhanced risk and even the slight risk, there can be tornadic thunderstorms during the day tomorrow. Now, as we go into the day Thursday and into Thursday night, the risk shifts east a bit, and notice our viewing area is actually clipped by the low-end risk for severe weather. I'm not real concerned about wind damage or hail here, but it's something that can't be ruled out. I'll talk about that more in just a second. One thing for sure, the air mass is going to be changing over the next couple of days. I mentioned I'm not real concerned going forward about the fire weather risk because the moisture content in the atmosphere is going to be on the increase. I think these dew points on the model here tomorrow are probably a little overdone. Probably we get into the 50s tomorrow, but maybe close to 60. Thursday and parts of Friday, it'll feel pretty muggy. For one of the first times this year, it'll be legitimately kind of humid outside with temperatures upper 70s, and tomorrow I think we'll get into the lower 80s. Notice what happens after that. For the weekend and beyond, the air mass will dry out once again. All right, so as far as breaking down the next couple of days, tomorrow is going to be another beautiful, beautiful day. We hit 80 today. I've got 83 in our Wednesday forecast. Now, I do think there'll be a few more fair weather clouds around, and our in-house model here continues to insist that there could be a stray shower or a storm, especially north of I-80, towards the end of the day tomorrow. This doesn't have the support of a lot of other modeling, so I hesitate to, play this up too much, but there's maybe a 10-15% chance of some sort of stray cell or two, again, mostly north of I-80, late in the day tomorrow towards sunset. I do think the rain risk is higher on Thursday. Again, we're going to be into the warm sector here Thursday. It's going to be warm, somewhat humid. We've got a front nearby, so there could be some showers, some storms here and there. Certainly don't think it's a washout. Now, that boundary might slip a little farther to the south than late Thursday into Thursday night, giving us a break in the action before we get back into the soupy air again on Friday with a few rounds of showers and thunderstorms a possibility. One of the ingredients we look for when we talk about thunderstorms and possible severe weather, the instability, the ability for air parcels to rise through the atmosphere. Rising air parcels form clouds and oftentimes precipitation and thunderstorms if they rise fast enough and high enough. Here's a look at the, sometimes you may see this referred to as the convective available potential energy, or CAPE values. Tomorrow, it's a fairly unstable atmosphere. The thing is, tomorrow we don't have much of a trigger. There's not much of a front nearby for most of the day tomorrow. But again, it's going to be pretty warm and moderately humid, so the CAPE values will be elevated. Now, as we go into Thursday, if that boundary slips a little farther south, like the most recent runs of the modeling have, I don't think the atmosphere will be very unstable at all late in the day on Thursday, and that would reduce our risk for thunderstorm activity. So again, the Weather Service has the area in a low-end risk of severe weather Thursday into Thursday night. As of right now, I'm not real concerned about severe weather. Could there be a thunderstorm? Sure, but is it much more than a garden variety storm? I'm not real optimistic about that at this point. All right, longer range, let's take a look at the European temperature anomalies here going forward. Here's this warm air mass that's here through the end of the week. And then that cooler air in Canada starts sliding south as we go into the weekend and early next week. Now, this is not going to result in a big dramatic change for us. It's still going to be in the upper 60s for a lot of the first half of next week. Remember, our averages are rising quickly at this time of the year, so you see some cool anomalies around. That certainly does not mean it's going to be crazy cold or anything. It'll just be kind of average or maybe somewhat below average for a handful of days next week. Now, as we go towards the middle of the month, notice the warmth really building in the west. I think some of this is going to start migrating east. The European model here pretty bullish on the warmth right around Mother's Day. So right around the 13th into the 14th, 15th. This is a pretty warm-looking pattern for a lot of the lower 48 states. And this has the support of some of our other medium and long-range modeling, so I kind of suspect this is the right idea. If you missed my May forecast last evening, I talked about how May is likely to be a warmer than average month for us. Something we haven't said very often lately. February has been it. Ever since late in the fall, we've had a string of pretty chilly weather compared to average, including a lot of the winter and, of course, early in the spring. So a warm May would be a welcome sight for many people. Thanks for watching this first day of May edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you back here tomorrow evening. Hope you have a great Tuesday night, and if you're up late, check out my updated forecast tonight on 21 News at 11 o'clock.